Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sunspot for the week of June 14th. Since we last saw you, a lot has happened. With me today is still referred to you as Mayor Hill. We'll explain why I probably shouldn't use that title anymore, but certainly a city leader and someone who has done wonders for this city, and my friend David Hill is with us. Just to preface it, today's Wednesday. I tell you this every week, but today's Wednesday, the recording of Sunspot. It comes to you on Friday, so when you get this, it'll be Friday. So on Tuesday of this week, a special council meeting was held to do a number of things, one of which was to vote on new mayor and mayor pro tem, which happens every year with a new council that is seated. In addition, there were swearing-in ceremonies, and I believe that was pretty much it. So yesterday, some things took place in the city that are significant, and we're going to talk about those today. So I'm going to let the mayor share with you. Former mayor, I don't even know how to say it anymore. How about I just say David? David, share with you what happened, and then we will just talk about it so that you can just get a sense of the feelings here. Okay, so tell the viewers what happened yesterday.
Well, it happens every year.
Right.
It's not anything new. When we call a special election, we have to canvass the vote and reorganize our city council, which we do every single year.
Right.
Every single year we elect a mayor. Every single year we elect a mayor pro tem and reorganize. So nothing out of the ordinary as far as process goes. Surprising, but standard.
Right.
For what we do here. So.
Right. So the mayor of Waxahachie, just as the council people are, and you already know this, I'm sure, but are unpaid, volunteer, in essence, positions of service, essentially, and so there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of work. I know that. Never been one, but I've worked closely with a number of council people over the years, and I know there's a lot of work that goes in, but they're unpaid volunteer positions. In addition to that, although city council folks are 2-year terms, correct? The mayor's position, in essence, is a 1-year term, yes. Mayor or mayor pro tem.
Right.
So every year when a council, because every year there's a council election, because the terms are staggered, there's a vote that takes place about mayor or mayor pro tem. In this case, yesterday, after, as we've shared with you, probably the most havoc-filled, chaotic, troubling, active election cycle I've seen here since I've been here. The council vote for mayor occurred, and that council vote went like this. Again, David's been mayor for how long? 2 years. 2 years. So David was chosen mayor by 2 councils. So we get to Tuesday, and this new council decided to make a change at mayor and mayor pro tem. Mayor pro tem for the last 2 years has been Mary Lou Shipley. She's no longer on council, so she can't serve, obviously, in that capacity. David still is on council. The vote was for David to continue being mayor, which for many people who have reached out since yesterday or since Tuesday about noontime or about 12:30, there are a number of people who can't figure out why David is not continuing to be mayor. But the vote was 4-1 to make a change at the mayor level. The mayor then chosen by council in a 4-1 vote was Doug Barnes, who has been on council for, it's not quite 2 years because
he just got on the city council.
Yeah, so that would have been in November.
Yeah, 6 months or something.
6 or 7 months, and Mayor Pro Tem is Billy Wallace, who was just elected to council. So I've had experience with both Billy and Doug, and I think they're good people. I think that there were just a lot of things going on in this council period of havoc and all that has led to this. And I do want you to share with the viewers how you're feeling. So that's what happened yesterday. In a 4-1 vote, David was voted to no longer be mayor. Doug Barnes was voted to be mayor, and Billy Wallace, mayor pro tem. So thoughts on all that?
Well, I had all night to think,
Yeah.
and got up this morning, got dressed, and went out and checked on a couple jobs around the city that we're doing, and took some pictures, got it on Facebook, tell everybody that we're trying to get their street fixed. But it's just, I was surprised. Wasn't surprised that there was opposition because I already heard that. I was surprised by who cast the votes. And betrayal is a dramatic word to use, but I felt that way. And not by everybody, because I already knew what their plans were, because it was already on Facebook and they were already talking about it. They'd already made conversations. But I had breakfast with one of the people the day prior to that, and had a bowl of oatmeal and wheat toast. I always say that for Mickey's benefit, so she'll know that I'm eating healthy.
Right.
It's probably 2 eggs over easy, hash browns, and white toast.
Yeah.
But so I had a meeting. We talked briefly about what was going on, and I knew the other conversation were being had, but the person that I was eating with said, you know, we've last night I spoke to all 3 of the other people, and I thought that was strange that they would say that. And then our last part of our conversation was when we departed, was if by chance I were to be nominated for mayor, would you support me? So of course I said yes. You know, he's a friend, and I'm thinking that's not a bad deal. Right. If I'm not, it's good for him. Right. I didn't know that there was already, that already had that. They figured that out. It was obvious yesterday, the next day.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, whatever day it was now.
Right.
So that's why when we started the meeting and canvassed the votes, I nominated myself just to make sure that everybody was on the same page, get that off. But I found out that I get a 4-1. I'm the only one who voted for myself, which is what I would plan to do anyhow. But I want to know where everybody else was.
Right.
So Melissa voted no, Billy voted no, Travis voted no, although he seconded my motion to nominate. Right. And then Doug Barnes, making Billy's mistake now.
Yeah.
So Doug Barnes votes no, and I didn't hear Doug's vote. I had to watch the video back several times to make sure that was true. So, and I wasn't expecting that. I knew the 3 would vote against me because they'd already said in their conversations with other people that they would not support me. Couldn't give me a reason why, other than maybe they just don't like me. If that's it, then that's fine. We can deal with that. But for Doug was different. I certainly didn't see that coming. So I talked about that to about midnight last night, and took a little NyQuil and went to sleep. Yeah. And I got up this morning, showered, and went back. So, yeah, I'm okay. I told Michael asked me if everything was all right, and I said yes. I mean, a lot of people there.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that either. But we've had these transfers where it's just staff. Maybe 1 or 2 family members are there, but evidently everybody was kind of anxious. One of 2 things. They were either there to support you, or they were there glad that this was happening.
Yeah.
You never know.
Right. So let me just say this about Sunspot and our purpose. This isn't about, the Sunspot isn't intended to be political. It's been political because we launched it in a political season, and that season just so happens to be, was continues to be, I guess, highly political, highly troubling. Highly troubling is not deeply troubling to me anyway. And so Sunspot is intended to express reality and truth and honesty, and even if the feelings are raw, we have an obligation to just share it with you. And David is certainly professional and mature enough to share it in the proper way. But what you just heard was that yesterday resulted in some things that are, as in my view, political as political gets. And in just a few minutes, we'll talk about where, at least I think, that the source of that is coming from. In the vote yesterday, normally when, as those of you who sit on boards or are aware of parliamentary type rules, procedures, when someone a motion is made, the person making the motion is expecting or wanting votes to agree with the motion that they're making. Usually when the person who seconds that motion is in agreement. So yesterday when David made the motion to be mayor, Travis Smith, who has in some unprofessional ways, very unprofessional ways, made it clear that he wasn't supporting David, seconded the motion, which I mean, he didn't do anything wrong per se or illegal certainly, but it was a bit awkward to hear somebody who opposed you second the motion for you to be mayor. And I don't know if that comes from an experience or if that comes from an attitude of just, I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't really know. Truth is, I don't really care. But it was an awkward setting. And then David asked for the votes by voice. They weren't on the screen, but by voice. And then the others said nay, including Travis Smith, who seconded the motion for David to be mayor. So it was just an example, and I share that with you only as an example of some of the quirky things, one of many, many quirky things that have happened in this election cycle. And it's just troubling to me. And so Sunspot is not intended to be sugar-coated. We don't do this, or I don't do this to win friends and allies here. I do it because I want you to be able to at least get some sense of the real truth about what's going on here. So in the time frame between Tuesday at 12:30, as I mentioned earlier, and when we recorded this, my phone has, we use the word blown up, but my phone has been very active with texts from citizens and readers wanting to know why David Hill was ousted as mayor of Waxahachie. I ask you that. Why?
I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know why Doug would think I need to be ousted. Travis, like I said, in the past, we've had a couple conversations. Don't know why. He would feel compelled to do that. Melissa Olson didn't vote for me as mayor pro tem. The first vote when she was first on council, her first vote was against me. So I expected that. If she had voted for me, that would have been a nice gesture, but she didn't. Right. So I wasn't expecting that at all. For Billy, I mean, we're in Rotary together, and thought we were friendly. Appears not. I mean, it's amazing what people feel about each other, and then all of a sudden, when it comes down to a yes or no decision, where they are. And I thought Doug and I were certainly friendly, but appears that we weren't.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you can't work with them. It just means that you don't. There's not a lot of trust there.
Right.
So now they may trust themselves, but I'll guarantee you, if they'll eat me, they'll eat each other. So just when Doug thinks he's got it, you watch the next council, the next election cycle. Another guy comes in next year. If they're already saying, this woman over in Maypearl
Right.
is already telling people, and I know you know this,
Yes.
because you read that and you like it. And it's interesting, isn't it, how they're already starting, they've got a plan devised. They want me off city council because I voted for a good friend of mine, Chuck Beatty,
Right.
and Mary Lou Shipley. Both of them are Democrats, and I'm a Republican, so that was taboo. They tried to censure me. They tried to do that. They couldn't get me censured. So what they couldn't do at the Republican Party of Ellis County level, and I've asked them for all the documents and everything for that night, and they still haven't responded to any of that. I think you've asked as
Right.
well. Have you?
No,
any?
we haven't.
Hadn't got a thing. So they don't want anybody to know what they did, although I tell everybody I can every chance I get. So what they couldn't do with their censure, they were able to do through our city council in a time when we've never done this since we opened. I guess the charter was 71 when we wrote the charter. In a home rule city, unless you want to be partisan, you have to put that in your charter.
Right.
If not, it's independent. So they've interjected themselves into this. So now you have people sitting on city council that if they don't, because they were endorsed by, I believe,
Right.
and supported by the Republican Party of Ellis County, not the city of Waxahachie. People that live in Maypearl, people that live outside the city limits, people who are involved in our county business are now telling people on our city council, just by what you've got here in your lap,
Right.
that if you don't toe the Republican Party line, we'll be running somebody against you in the next election, in the primary, and we'll make sure that you don't have that job next year.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah.
And we've never had that. We've always been free enough to be able to be honest about who we talked about, honest about who we supported, and we didn't have to have someone threatening us from a party perspective. And now you do.
Right. So that was well said, and it's correct. In the response, when I'm asked, although in a column today or Wednesday, I write about this. I write about a couple of things. One, the vote, Melissa Olson's role in all of this, who most of you know I don't think should be on council. But I also say that I can't think of a single reason why Mayor Hill would not continue to be mayor. Now, given the performance that Mayor Hill has, if somebody else, if Mayor John Doe had the same performance over the past couple of years that Mayor Hill has had, I'd say the same thing about John Doe. So my response to those, and it's been most of the last 20 hours or so, has been, here's what I think is the reason. And as David just said, this time, for the first time since I've lived here, and I think for many people who've lived here for decades would say it's the first time in decades, that partisan, sorry, lousy behaviors have been injected into Waxahachie's local politics. And so my response has been that the pressure put on people running for city council to never vote for a Democrat. Doesn't matter if it's your colleague for decades, your peer, somebody that you've helped build this city with. If they've got a D by their name, although there are no letters when you go to vote for city council, there are no letters by any candidate's name. We're totally independent in that regard. So you don't go there knowing, if you don't know, you don't know, that there's nothing to tell you on that ballot that these people are Republican or Democrat. So the Republican Party's stance is, unless they're a Republican, in some cases a hard Republican, then you better not be voting for them if you want our support. With all Republicans, although I'm telling you, despite the claims from the mountaintops from these folks who want to say every election is partisan, local elections should not be and are not usually partisan unless one of the parties makes it partisan. That's what's happened here. So yesterday, a man who's very passionate about the city of Waxahachie, got up and spoke. He happens to be a Democrat. He and I agree on most everything as it relates to the city of Waxahachie, and I'm as deep a conservative as you can find. Same thing with Chuck Beatty. So now we're being told, if I wanted to run for council, which I don't, but if I did, that I'm not going to receive Republican support because I agree with somebody who wants the same thing for the city of Waxahachie as I do. It's both insane, it's insidious, and it's unacceptable. And those of you who want to keep claiming that it's partisan and that no Democrat can serve, knock yourself out. But I can tell you, as long as the sun exists, we're going to battle that and fight that and reject it by making our readers aware of the tactics. So that's it. Let me just share with you the lady who heads up the True Texas Project, which she repeatedly wants to say has nothing to do with the GOP, local Ellis County GOP. Although when she wrote David the threatening email about being censured, copied the local GOP, this is what she said on a post by Melissa Olson yesterday on Facebook. Somebody sent this to me, and I want to read it to you. And this is in response to somebody that posted on there as well. She says, I can pull your voting record. She's talking to the person that had already made a post. If you are dim, I will call you a dim. If not, then so be it. As far as my little group, well, it is not so little. Again, I will state, we are not part of the Ellis County Republican Party, and we are not trying to hijack them. I would debate that, and I think can prove that that's not true. As far as the censure goes, I was not at the meeting due to work, and I did not lead that issue. I only called attention to Hill supporting two Democrats by actually going straight to the source. So here's the woman who sent the email, made the threats, told David there was a meeting that Thursday night, and that the meeting was all about censuring David as mayor of Waxahachie. She then doesn't show up, and then, as you can see in this exchange, is trying to squeeze her way out of taking responsibility for leading the charge. She says other people in the party wanted the meeting. So you've heard that kind of before, people saying it wasn't me, despite my name being all over it. And then here's what it says. And we look forward to a strong primary candidate to run against Hill for 2022. Now, we don't have a primary in a city council elections. Mm-hmm. It's just an election. But listen to the threat that's veiled as just a statement. We look forward to a strong primary candidate to run against Hill for 2022. So it wasn't enough to try to censure David and failed. That vote failed. It wasn't enough to see David ousted as mayor, although his performance as mayor has been exemplary and extraordinary. And neither of those were enough. Now, because David voted for a Democrat, they want to find somebody, recruit somebody, which they've already done. They've recruited Melissa Olson in the past, Darren Robinson in the Travis Smith. I mean, the list goes on to run against David next year, 2022. So, and then it closes by saying to the man she's writing to, you will not control any of us. We are in a free nation and will do as we please. So imagine the hypocrisy in that. You will not control any of us, but what she's done via True Texas Project is trying to control a mayor of a city by the way he votes, or control the way he votes, the results of his votes. It's as hypocritical as it gets. Any thoughts about all that? I mean, you've seen it play out. You were the target.
Yeah, I'll run again next year.
Right.
And I'll put out my signs.
Right.
I'll run on my record.
Right.
If Kathy Ponce and Paula Ann's want to get involved in it, they'll get their signs, move into the city. They can participate. If they can't find somebody to run, they should.
Right.
And all they have to do is like I did. When I found out I couldn't serve on a committee or a commission in the city of Waxahachie, Mickey and I sold our house in Palmer that we had spent several $100,000 on to remodel, loved it.
Right.
moved into the city and just to serve. So these two people that are orchestrating all this stuff and are part and parcel of it, they should move into the city. Sell wherever you are. Come on over, get a place in the city.
Right.
Don't find somebody else to do your work.
Right.
I mean, just come on in and do it. If you beat me, you get to go and sit on city council, and we'll pay you the same thing they pay me.
Right.
It's an easy process.
Right.
But don't be, I mean, anybody can sit from afar and stir the pot.
Right.
Very few people just want to really get into the middle of the pot.
Right. So David just referenced two people. Kathy Ponce, as we've discussed with you before, is the, I don't know, the official leader or the de facto leader or whatever, default leader, I don't know, of this True Texas Project. Doesn't live in Waxahachie. She lives in Mayoral, and is the one stirring this stuff up. Paula Hands, who my guess is both are delightful people, doesn't live in the city either, and she's the vice chair of the local GOP. So it's this essence of kind of cleansing. It's basically saying to the city of Waxahachie and to the citizens of Waxahachie, to you and me and David, that unless you vote Republican, you're not welcome in their world. And so imagine that. Here's another comment made on the same thread by somebody who lives in Allen, but who wanted to weigh in, and who's obviously in line with the thinking of Kathy Ponce and this cleansing mentality. She says there is no such thing as nonpartisan anymore. She's wrong about that. When someone walks into that voting booth, they either vote Democrat or Republican. I find that a little odd, since when, as I just told you, you go into the ballot box,
You won't see
there's
that
not a
on ours.
letter, D or an R, on the ballot when it comes to city council people. So unless you know that, which most people in a city of Waxahachie size, and we know each other, we don't walk around with, well, I can't really talk to you unless I know that you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever. We go vote for people we think will hopefully we do, that will do a good job. But she says when someone walks into that voting booth, they either vote D or R. They either support conservative values or liberal values and take those values to the seat they sit in. Those values affect people on every level. So if you enjoy living in Texas and the lifestyle of this state, I would hope you would understand that. Again, she's talking to another person. She's basically, what she's saying is, and at a state level, I would entirely agree. At a national level, I've hidden no secrets are there about how I feel about Democrat policies and the impact on the country. I think Joe Biden is awful, frankly. But we're talking about local politics, ultra-local politics. They're trying to apply the same theory to Waxahachie as they would to Washington, D.C., and that will end up being a miniature Washington, D.C. if we allow that to happen. She then says, and we will be involved in all elections for good, strong, conservative candidates all across Ellis County and into other counties if they so need the help. No one gets to tell us otherwise, just as you are free to do what you wish. Actually, that was written by Kathy Ponce as well. The other quote I want to share with you is from another person who doesn't live here. She's the one who lives in Allen. Here's what she says. You have no idea, this is to the same gentleman who simply went on there and said, stay out of our local politics. They are nonpartisan. We vote for people who love the city and do a good job. Stay out of it. This is a response from somebody in Allen who has, I don't know if she's part of True Texas Project or has the same thinking. Clearly she has the same thinking. Here's her response. You have no idea what you're talking about. I commend your passion, but you cannot go around calling people fascist for having a different opinion. That is called intolerance. You, sir, are the problem. Protecting the freedoms the Constitution allow us, limiting the size of our government, and teaching our children patriotism are not bad things. You're suffering from the illusory effect. The line in there I want you to pay attention to is that she says his reference to them of trying to control and dictate how a city in which they don't even live should vote, and if they don't, if votes aren't according to what they think, there are threats thrown around, censures, we'll oust you, we'll primary you, all this other stuff. That's their view. She's saying to the man who calls that out that he's intolerant. So the humor here is that the most intolerant people on the planet is referring to a citizen of Waxahachie as being intolerant because he's telling them to stay out of local politics because they don't live here. So 3 people weigh in, who don't even live in this city, weigh in on the city of Waxahachie politics, 2 of which have gone above and beyond to try to create, and have actually created, this level of havoc. So I just wanted to share with you some things that are being said that you wouldn't otherwise know about this partisanship that we have not had up until now, and now that those who want it to be that way have injected it. What happened yesterday is what we end up with. Or on Wednesday, we end up with a man who served the city of Waxahachie well for 2 years, no longer being its mayor, simply because he voted for a Democrat. And the cool thing about it, if there is a cool thing about it, is that David, like most of the people that I love in this city, said, it doesn't matter to me what you think. I know that Chuck Beatty's done a great job. Mary Lou's done a great job. I'm voting for him. Doesn't matter what's by their name. Have I summarized that pretty well?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
Well,
There's a lot there.
Obviously, there's more to all of it. I haven't read any of this stuff that you're reading.
Mm-hmm.
I don't read their post. I read the ones that people send to me. But I looked in the crowd yesterday, and we had a large crowd, which is not normal. We usually don't have that. But I got a lot of text from a lot of people, a lot of Republicans, a lot of strong Republicans at the state level and at the federal level that thank me for my service, Texas Department of Emergency Management, and all kinds of people.
Right.
So, and they're all Republicans. And then I got a bunch of Democrats. I even got some text from out of state that by groups that support Black Lives Matter, and I mean all ilks.
Right.
That didn't say anything about Republican, Democrat. They just said we appreciate what you've done for the community and for your dedication to the city. It's 8 years. A couple of years prior to that, I was working on economic development. So about 10 years of just serving the best I can.
Right.
Never asked the Republican Party to support me. Never asked the Democrats to support me. Never asked anything. Simply put my signs out and had an election, got elected. So I'm at I'm at peace. All this drama that they want to do, and all the threats, and all the hoopla about all this stuff is just it doesn't move the city forward.
Right.
All it does is cause damage to a community that we all love, and I'm going to continue doing what I do.
Good.
I'll run if I get voted out. I'll keep doing what I do.
Right.
So
Okay.
you can be in office and or out of office and still work it.
Yeah, for
at,
sure.
Promoting the city. So
For sure. And I would say to you that two other folks I want to mention that this local GOP, True Texas Project, whatever they want to call themselves, and whoever's included and excluded on the, whoever the leader is or isn't, whatever connection or isn't, they're all the same. Two of the other folks that they supported were Darren Robinson, who sat right here and made a fool of himself, and then the other was Paul Christensen, who was caught with a lack of ethics in his hands. So, and neither one of those happened to win. So, when we start placing really the only measure of value on those we either want to elect or those we call friends or those we want to embrace, if we only do that based on the letter by their name, we have missed the boat when it comes to what life is about, in my view. And we end up with some yahoos that will run for office. And I find that a shame. My challenge to those who sit on council, including David, is that we don't go down that road, that we embrace at the local level. I'm not saying this about the national or state level, because I do think that partisanship does matter at those and exists certainly, but at a local level, I would say to the city council, let's not go there. Let's embrace people who simply want to serve, and it doesn't matter what it's a D or an R. And the last thing I'll say about this is, if Kathy Ponce or Paula Ann's or anybody else from that GOP wants to come in and talk with me about the difference between, say, David Hill and Chuck Beatty, or me and Chuck Beatty, and our voting records, or what we want, let's talk. And you can you hear me? Okay. Oh, I might have been accidentally hitting it. My hand was in front of it. But if you want to talk about if you want to talk about the difference in the voting records, and you can find the difference either in voting records that would designate one clearly as a Republican and one clearly as a Democrat, then bring that stuff in. Let's sit down and you show me the difference between how Chuck Beatty voted for this city over the years, or any Republican councilman. It could be Mark Singleton, could be Kevin Strength, could be Mary Lou Shipley's a Democrat, but it could be any of them. Mm-hmm. Bring it in. Let's see the differences that you claim make this city partisan. Because I'm going to tell you, you can't find them. But I invite you in to show the difference so that our viewers will understand what you're up to. So that's what happened yesterday. And so what I'd like to share with you about Sunspot going forward, the intent was for the mayor and the city manager and whomever else they designated to come in and let's talk about city issues. We want to transition to that as quickly as possible. If politics and political shenanigans would just stop, then we wouldn't have to have them included here. So as we move forward with David now in a different role, David's still welcome to come in here every week, and I do think that would be great, and you all would value from it, because David knows more than anybody on city council right now what's going on in this city. You could learn about the inner workings of the city and that sort of thing. I do want to make mention, I got a call yesterday afternoon, or actually last night, that said one of the new council members, who isn't named Billy, was noted for saying yesterday that the son, or Scott, but the son is now not going to get information about the city. I'll let you determine what that person's up to when it comes to serving on city council. The whole idea is for the newspaper in the city to be able to provide you every bit of information we can think of that keeps you informed. For a city council person, a new one who carries a chip on his shoulder, to say that, I think you can judge for yourself what that actually means. So we will continue to provide you information. So with that, I'm going to let the former mayor share with you any final thoughts, and then we'll close up. David? Well,
I really don't have any closing statement made, but I would just say that it's not a fun place to be right now, but we still have a city that operates 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So you get to back up and regroup. We form a new government, and we just continue to go forward. A pothole doesn't. I mean, the streets don't know it. They're not aware of this. Right. So it's just amongst us, isn't it?
That's right.
So that's our little struggle, and the city has to be attended to. The staff. That's why we have a good staff. Even after yesterday, they changed name tags, they changed pictures, they update our Facebook post, put other people's names in. All that information goes into election process and to state websites so that people know who to contact. And we can argue all we want to and fight as much as we need to. But at the end of all of that, it's inconsequential. It means absolutely nothing in the life of the city, because the city just continues. It's been here since 1850. Right. Hopefully it'll be here in the next 100 years, 200 years. I have no doubt that it won't be. So we come and go. Israelites fought that. They had kings and good kings, bad kings, and they're still they're a state.
Right.
So I would encourage people to get active in local government. It's perfectly fine to do that. Republican, Democrat, who cares? We are independents in Waxahachie until they try to change the charter.
Right.
So I mean, they're talking about now they want to put more people on the council, maybe elect a mayor with a popular vote, and that's all perfectly fine. But they seem to think that if we elect the mayor amongst the populace, that you'll get a better mayor. We can't get people now to serve on committees and commissions,
Right.
and they're appointed. All you got to do is sign and come.
Right.
So city council, same thing.
Right.
You can't get people. It all pays the same, whether you elect them or appoint them.
Yeah.
Okay, it's absolutely nothing.
Right.
You don't get $1 for it. So if you think we need to elect them and spend $30,000 or $40,000 to put on a city election, we can do that. The guys in charge now, the 4 that have decided they want to be the power going forward and sit in that seat, have that ability to do that. Yeah. If they want to scrub the charter, it's a $100,000 bill to hire a lawyer firm to go through our charter, restructure everything. Some areas that need to be changed because they're antiquated. It's a good thing to do that, but do you want to spend? Is it that important? And do you really, have you thought the process out?
Right.
That we're so desperate to take control and to be able to, and there's the ones that saying, everybody should have a choice.
Right.
But now, when you hear what they're asking to do, to get rid of the city manager, because we don't like the city manager. Yeah. Had an issue with him years ago and don't like what he did.
Right.
So now, do you want to go through that process again? We went through it once and everybody got real mad.
Right.
And now you want to try that again. So it's time to, if you have a vendetta, bury it.
Right.
If you got an axe, bury it someplace other than somebody's back.
Right.
I mean, we need to stop this stuff and get down to taking care of what the city needs and what the people are demanding, and do that. All that other stuff will settle out later. But right now you got a city to run. So
I agree.
that's what I would say.
Well said. You're still here, so you're not going anywhere.
No, I got another year. Yeah.
Thank you for the service. I through the pandemic, through a fast-growing, or because of a fast-growing city, it has required courage. It's required knowledge. It's required wisdom, intuition, all those things. And David, you have supplied that to this city in abundance. And if what I've received in the past 24 hours is any indication, and I know that it is, of how many citizens out there feel about you, they would agree with me. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
So in closing, for me, I just, in this week's column, I talk about the threat and the impact of an addiction to power. We do have some at a local level that have that addiction. One of them sits on council and has wanted to be mayor since she sat there, and is neither mayor or mayor pro tem going forward. I address that. I address the impact of that on the city, and my job here at the Sun is to make sure that you're kept informed. If you disagree with me, then please tell me about it, and I'll certainly listen to you. But the idea is to keep you informed, because if we're not informed, then none of what's happened in this past election cycle you would have known about, because the other newspaper won't tell you about it, and there is no other source to tell you about it other than social sites, which you never know what you're going to get there. So thank you for watching. Thank you, David, for being here. This is Sunspot for the week of June 14th. We're signing off, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.